What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on The Black Experience. I am your host, Ermias Hagos here, and I am back with another special episode. Back here at Color Studio. Shout out to you, Armando, man. I appreciate what you're doing. This is a growing studio, growing space. So shout out to everyone that's making it happen. All the podcasters, all the other creatives out there in this workspace. Today, y'all, I have a very special guest with me today. As usual, today I have somebody who is the founder and CEO of The ARC, which stands for the HBCU Experience, Historically Black Colleges and University Experience, the Alzheimer's Consortium, LLC. On top of that, she has a background as an industrial and systems engineer, holding 2 bachelor's degrees and a doctorate from Spelman College and North Carolina A&T State University. That's a rich background, y'all. And without further ado, let's put our hands together for Dr. Janetta Brown.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. That is such an impressive intro and background that you have, Dr. Janetta, because I also, I know we were just talking about this, but I also having a background in engineering. Mm-hmm. Every time I meet another fellow engineer, I get really excited.
Right. Same.
So, yeah. How's your day been so far?
My day has been great. Sun is shining. I am a morning person, so this is perfect. And I found a close parking spot. So it all worked out perfectly for me to be here. I'm excited to be here. I love that your topic, your whole premise is the Black experience. That's what I'm looking for. The core of my entire company is to empower the Black community, especially those impacted by dementia. So there's a lot of alignment here, and I really appreciate you inviting me to just share my story, share my journey, talk about my company, and these are wonderful questions I look forward to answering. So I'm hoping, this will reach someone and encourage the next generation, and we'll be on our way.
Absolutely. No, and quick point of connection too, I think the power of business cards, because it was through seeing your business card at an event in South Seattle that I was able to connect with you. Mm-hmm. And when you said yes, I got really excited because, again, we had so much intersection, and right. I was like, this would have been a perfect collab. Mm-hmm. So here we are now. But so Doctor, if you want to just start off telling the audience a little bit about your background, a little bit about where you're from and your journey coming here to the Pacific Northwest.
Sure. I am from Illinois. Aurora, Illinois. What brought me to the Northwest? I've had quite the journey, honestly. I went away to college. I went down south. My mother was a very big advocate for HBCUs, and so she wanted my sister and I to definitely attend one of them. It didn't really matter which one, but of course I had to apply to Spelman and just see what happened. And I got into Spelman, and I ended up pursuing their dual degree engineering program. So I was a math major at Spelman. I landed on industrial and systems engineering because that discipline is applicable across all industries. We're typically known for manufacturing, project management, supply chain management, but we also have another road less traveled, which is human factors and ergonomics. Mm-hmm. And so I took that route because it incorporated human machine systems. I was getting into learning about mobile tech, mobile health technology, building apps, socially assistive robots. I was kind of that super nerdy student who was a servant leader while I was at A&T for my engineering degree. And so I pursued a lot of student design competitions, something to get me out of my comfort zone, try something new. I started building multidisciplinary teams, because I didn't have all the skill sets that were needed for these competitions, but I knew students who might be interested. Just putting my school on the map, putting myself on the map. I chose a lot of different opportunities that would help build my portfolio, build my resume. You all know how it is in school. We always try to find those opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Internship after internship. So I did travel the country, pursuing different internships. I started off in aerospace with Boeing. That's what brought me to Washington State. many years ago. So I've lived here before. But then after graduating with my PhD, I pursued a postdoctoral fellowship or appointment at Indiana University School of Medicine. And so I broke into PWIs with that opportunity. It was amazing. That's where I got introduced to entrepreneurship.
Wow.
And so they had a fellowship there. Technically, you're supposed to be nominated or invited to join, but my mentor knew I had some interest in pursuing entrepreneurship, so he nominated me after he got nominated. So that kind of grandfathered me into that program. They wanted me to be CEO of a health tech. It was a mobile app called Brain Care Notes, where it empowers dementia caregivers, just giving a lot of critical information that caregivers can use just right there at their fingertips.
Yeah.
And so I took it on. I said, okay, I'm going to be CEO, and we're going to figure out what this means. So the rest is kind of history. I was executive director of a health innovation lab. And at the conclusion of my postdoc, I received a job offer from Microsoft. So that's what brought me back to PNW.
Yeah.
And after the major layoffs there, I was impacted by that. So it kind of gave me time to pursue my own passions, build on where I left off from graduate school with designing and developing mobile health technology for caregivers. And I want to say I have traveled the world presenting my research, presenting my findings, everything that I learn everywhere that I go. I want to bring that back to the Black community. And so that's where the ARC was born, basically. I've worked I thrive at that intersection of research, academia, tech, entrepreneurship, and medicine. So I feel like I know enough to be dangerous, and having my own company gives me that freedom to just try a lot of different things, and we produce unique, culturally aligned, culturally relevant solutions for Black families impacted by dementia.
Wow.
Yep.
Man, that is so selfless of you and humble of you to your academic success and what you're doing with dementia research and all that and the mobile tech app and bringing that back to the Black community, And I think that's, a lot of people call for that. A lot of people say, hey, if you find success, hey, bring it back to your community, bring it back to where you started so that, number one, not only you helping the community, but also you're bringing an inspiration to the younger generation, right?
Sure.
And so I think and also your inspiration, having two grandmothers who had dementia for a decade plus. And so I think is it fair to say that they obviously tugged on you in your heart to push you to do that?
Absolutely. I was going to say my lived experience is what kind of catapulted my interest in wanting to work with caregivers in the first place. And then being able to marry my lived experience with my engineering background, it's a great way to just build on that and find ways to advance technology, advance the field, but also kind of give so much of myself, so much of our experiences, our challenges, the nuances of the Black community. A lot of that's missing in innovation nowadays. And so finding opportunities to bring us in, get our voices heard, amplify our experiences, it's wonderful. It's a blessing to be able to do that.
Yeah, certainly. Let's take a little time travel machine and let's travel back to your first major research breakthrough.
Okay.
Whenever that may be. What would you tell that Dr. Janetta Brown, if she's about to embark on that journey, from what you know now, what would be something that maybe you'd give her as a piece of advice so that she can know that ahead of the journey ahead?
My first major research scientific breakthrough was actually during my PhD, pursuing my PhD. We read so many scientific journal publications. We do so much to search the literature and find, that one paper that just makes all the difference, that answers all of our questions, helps us figure out our own research questions, helps to affirm the topic that we've chosen, and just helps us know that we're on the right path. I found that paper, and it was written by one of my current colleagues, actually. I ended up being introduced to her during my postdoc. And so it was like a full circle moment. I'm like, this person published this paper that allowed me to like say it with my chest, what I'm pursuing, and the way that the whole justification of it all was affirmed and just fleshed out through her paper. And to be able to meet her in person, I was just gushing and just, oh my gosh, I read all about your lab. Exactly. And she was the kindest, most humble, most welcoming, most helpful person who is still a part of my network to this day. And based on any future questions, I'll be able to kind of reach back to that that connection and relationship that we've built. Yeah. She's inspired me to pursue a lot of what I'm doing now. And so the advice I would give to my past self would be, when you go to these conferences, do not be afraid. If you students that are out there now, go to the conferences, sign up for the competitions. Don't shy away from what looks scary and what you don't know how to do, because you'll figure it out, or you'll find the people who know how to do it. Reach out to them. Everyone loves to talk about what they know and, help out and give back, because we've all been in that situation where you might not know what your topic's going to be, what your major is going to be. But when you start to build those relationships, ask questions, put yourself out there, let people know what you're doing or what you're trying to investigate or trying to build, they end up coming to you. You end up with probably more resources than you know what to do with. So the advice I would give to myself is not to shy away, ask questions, speak up. I used to be happy just being in the room or just being at the event or just rubbing elbows with folks. But now when I show up to a space, I'm letting everybody know who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to build, where I'm going, the support that I need, the questions that I have. You may be afraid that you're not asking the right questions. And that's a whole nother journey, figuring out the right questions to ask. But just asking them, you start to learn from people who have already been in your shoes. What worked for them, what didn't work for them. And it helps you not stay lost in the sauce, not circling the drain. You end up finding those shortcuts. You end up finding those resources that change the game for you and really affirm what you're doing and show you that you're on the right path. So that would be my key piece of advice. Don't shy away. Don't honestly also to repurpose failure. And I say failure because I'm still not comfortable with failure. I'm a type A engineer. I have to be in control. Everything
got to be perfect.
It has to be perfect. I have to know all the answers. But that's not true. And no matter how much you prepare and try to perfect your journey or perfect what you're putting out there, there's always a curveball. There's always a mountain to climb. There's always something unknown. And so the sooner you embrace what goes wrong, that's what keeps you on your toes. That's advice I was given by one of my mentors. Failure sharpens the sword. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you sharp. Success can sometimes blind you because you might think, oh, I did it right. I did it well. I'm the best. This is wonderful. And we need those moments. Don't get me wrong. We need the wins. But it's the failures, it's the curveballs, it's the setbacks that really teach you.
Certainly.
How to be resilient, how to find workarounds, how to pick yourself back up and keep going. So embracing and repurposing failure, because you'll learn, it might suck in the moment, but you will learn how to keep moving, how to shift, how to pivot, and how to look for additional resources, have plan A, B, and C. That those moments are everything. Journal it, write it down, meditate on it, figure out, okay, what do I need to, how do I encourage myself? How do I perform that self-care? How do I pick myself back up? What community, what support system do I need? But those moments are what have been everything for me and actually help to contribute to a lot of the solutions I come up with for my company. For the community. So.
Certainly. And I think most people do want to help too, right? And when you're able to ask questions, because people don't know what you're thinking. And so when you put yourself out there asking those questions and being humble about it. I've learned that lesson to myself. Like, I used to be very shy of asking questions, and I almost saw being shy as being respectful, and it can be maybe to an extent, but that can only take you so far, you know, because the person that's asking the questions is making those connections is going to be leaps and bounds ahead because
Exactly.
they're putting themselves out there. But would you say, like, your engineer, have you ever heard the term the engineering brain, and kind of having an engineering brain being able to allow you to persevere in different fields, or let's say like outside, having that perseverance? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
I feel that. That's really cool. Kind of coming back to the ARC now, your company. You know, I would say it's filling a critical gap, because I think it's, you know, on one part, you're tackling dementia. Lots of people have dementia in this country, and abroad. Are there any surprising reactions you've seen from the community with the work that you're doing with the ARC when it comes to dementia, that have kind of prompted you to think like, oh, wow, like I guess I didn't expect that side of things, or it made you feel good and say, hey, you know what I'm doing here has an impact?
Absolutely. I think one of the surprises that I've noticed along the way, and I don't know if this is a phenomenon, I call it a phenomenon, but a realization that I had is that I get such warm reception everywhere that I go. Any space that I'm in, any meeting, any event that I'm in, and people hear that I'm in the dementia space working to bring those solutions and resources and connections for the Black community, everyone is just like, where have you been all my life? We could have used your insight, your knowledge, your events, your resources, your services years ago. But what I found is that when I'm talking to health executives, I'm talking to leadership, the decision makers for, let's say, any opportunity, whether I walk into a church and they say, oh, come on in, talk to our congregation. We have caregivers, we have families, we need you. It's such a great warm reception. But then the leaders and the health executives and the higher ups, they don't participate. They're willing to share the news, help me advertise and market and get the word out and invite people. But I'm like, everyone needs this. You know how they say doctors make the worst patients? I feel like researchers, leaders, those of us who have, you know, all the degrees, all the education, we should still show up and be a part of the events and be there to participate in the research opportunities, be a part of the panel discussions. It's not, I feel like there's some kind of gap between us and like the general public. I feel like we see ourselves, oh, well, I can afford healthcare, I can afford the specialists, I'm connected. But there's still such a benefit to giving back and still being at the table and being in the room, and not just, you know, telling the families who might not be surrounded or connected to research and science and all of that. I feel like it's not enough. We can still be a part of the movements as well. And I say that because, one, I've never heard researchers as participants in other researcher studies. I'm not seeing a whole lot of these executives. They'll, you know, roll out the red carpet and introduce me to all the folks that I need, but then they're not present at the events. And so I don't know if it's where we get to a point where we feel comfortable and, okay, I got what I need. I don't need to hear this information. But to me, that was surprising because it affirms what I'm doing.
Sure.
But I still feel like we all need to still be there and hear this information. Or if you already know, be there to answer questions. Be there to provide resources and insight to those who might not have the answers, who might still be in the trenches trying to figure it out. And not know, you know, how to get connected. That's the whole point of the ARC, is to build that community of specialists, the general public, providers, clinicians, lawyers, everybody.
Yeah. Where do you think that comes from, though? Do you think is it kind of to the point where you were saying, they feel like, they've done their part and now they're going to step away and they're going to have whatever they did and the community members, embark on whatever they did? Or do you think it's more so, them just thinking, I don't think I would be of value in that space, maybe?
That is a great question. I think if I had to assume, if I had to guess, I might say they might feel like, okay, well, I spread the word or I sent the email, I did my part.
Yeah.
But not only should they, again, they should be there, they should invite your family, invite your colleagues, invite your students, invite everyone so that everything that's being done, all of these resources that so many of us are working to build and make available, really take off and grow to be as big as they should be, as big as they need to be.
Yeah, certainly. I'm actually thinking about your name now, the Arc. Is that did that name kind of arrive from kind of like, because I'm thinking of an arc, I'm thinking of kind of almost like a bridge between kind of bridging people together. Was that the inspiration behind that name?
That Noah's Ark, right? Because when I think of the Ark, I think it is that divinely inspired, catch-all vehicle that's going to move humanity forward to escape destruction and devastation. Dementia is projected to devastate our healthcare system by the year 2050 as our nation continues to age, as so many chronic illnesses disparately impact the Black community, and we don't realize, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. There are so many chronic illnesses that can lead to the development of dementia. We call them risk factors. And so many folks are at risk, but they don't realize it. For instance, I had a panel discussion on chronic kidney disease for the month of March. It's National Kidney Month. And something profound that I hadn't really considered before was said by one of the researchers at Duke University. He said, chronic kidney disease has silent symptoms. So in some cases, we may be at risk or we might be developing some issues and we don't even know it. Yeah. So the screening, the prevention, the early detection, it's so important. So what was I getting at? The ARC. It's that catch-all. It's a holistic approach. We're tackling so many different chronic illnesses, generational diseases we sweep under the rug. We don't talk about it. We don't even know what's going on with our extended family, nuclear family, our friends. And it's time that we have that safe space to be able to ask the important questions, that safe space to where we get the answers. I want to get to the point where no matter where you are in the nation, if you are African American, you are prepared with the right questions to ask the doctor. You know the information that they should be telling you that they're not telling us, doctors, nurses, pharmacists. And it doesn't matter if your provider is African American, white, or anywhere in between. You're prepared for those appointments, and you know what you should be getting out of those appointments. You're not afraid to go to the kidney screening, the kidney mobile, the breast cancer screening, the mammogram. You're not afraid of any of that anymore because we've been educated. We've attended Dr. Brown's monthly sessions, and we know exactly what we should be getting from these services and from these providers. So, yes, the ARC bridges that gap between the Black community and the healthcare system that we've been structurally excluded from.
100%. 100%. And even for me, when I think of dementia, I don't really think about the risk factors. I just think, oh, you get old, and some people get dementia, some people don't. I don't have the research knowledge like you do. And so understanding those risk factors, and it's interesting because those risk factors like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all these things, it's very high in the Black community.
Exactly.
They're high risk factors. So obviously that just translates down to more dementia in the community. So that's important work you're doing. Yeah. And I feel like even I could take away something like that because even me, I go to a doctor's appointment. I don't necessarily know, what I should be getting necessarily, when I'm doing a physical, whatever. But Important stuff, Dr. Brown. That's good. Man, what a guest I have today. Let's kind of go to mobile health technology.
Okay.
So there are a plethora of dementia featured apps out there. You know, is there a certain, from what you've experienced in that sector, are there any features maybe in a dementia app that you've seen is missing? Is there like a certain feature in those apps that you wish was there that would make it maybe easier for the user to utilize?
That is a great question. And you mentioned having that engineering brain. I feel like with a background in user experience and user interface design and development, industrial and systems engineering, it's difficult for me to even, see a product, see technology out there and not try to pick it apart and understand and like, oh, the user experience here is terrible. And
Yeah.
I would say, without getting into too many trade secrets and, protected information, I would say in general, mobile health technology needs to better reflect the end users.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily a particular feature that I feel is missing, but more of a process behind the development, including your target audience as co-designers or co-developers, having an advisory board of the people you intend to use your product, get them involved from ideation and conceptualization all the way through the output, all the way through the deployment of whatever the product is. Otherwise, you spend all these resources, all this time, all this money on a product that nobody likes and nobody is able to use and no one stays engaged with.
Yeah.
Engagement has been a big issue with a lot of even the products that I've worked on and have put out there and run clinical trials on.
Mm-hmm.
Many times, if it's not perceived as useful or usable, user-friendly, if it's difficult to incorporate in people's everyday lives, you may have a hard time, collecting all the data that you need. You may have a high attrition rate. They call it technology abandonment. People won't stick with using the product as prescribed or as directed. Anything that meets people where they are and allows easy assimilation into their everyday activities, everyday lives, that's, I think that's the key to really having people to get everything that out of using the product that you intend for them to.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to improve engagement. A lot of those have a lot of my assumptions around that help fuel some of the events and services that I offer. And so I'm excited to see what works. Research is sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes it's failure. Sometimes it's success. So you just kind of pick up and try again. And so those would be some of my key insights around, what's missing in mobile tech now and what I've seen over the years and where it's going to go in the future.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because, when I hear engagement in 2025, I immediately think of social media and how people's attention spans have really dwindled. What is it now? Like 12 seconds, I think 9 seconds.
Probably less.
Very short. Yeah, but maybe even less. How much do you think social media has played a role in people's engagement in research and stuff? Or is it just they're not wanting to engage in that specific research? Like, do you see the parallels in there?
I would say there's a lot of potential and a lot of opportunities in using social media. When I see, let's say, any influencer who has a big following and they pose a question to their followers, oh, how do you guys feel about, being single? You just throw a question out there.
Right.
They get hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of responses. And in the research and world of academia, it takes years for researchers to get that amount of engagement and questions answered. Our questionnaires it takes years to get hundreds of people to even participate in a study. And so with social media, if the question is compelling, if it's a question everybody can relate to or has an opinion or has experience with, I'm like, how in the world can I partner with different social media influencers to get my questions out there, something that will help feed everything that I do, that it could change the direction of what a lot of my innovations are helping with or portraying or being applied to.
Yeah.
Because getting thousands, I have a colleague, he's using the therapeutic benefits of music. He's a award-winning jazz musician to raise awareness and educate people on dementia. I don't know if I'm allowed to say names here, give shout outs.
Oh,
but
for sure. Go ahead.
Eric Merrick's, he's a Global Brain Health Initiative Fellow, Atlantic, I can't quote the name entirely correctly, but a fellow, an Atlantic fellow. So it's global. The program that he's in, it's wonderful. He recently had a jazz concert to help, one, bridge the gap, merge the two disciplines together. But it was something that so many people are already interested in, already love. He said they packed out the venue. Everything, it was sold out. He had at least 400 people in attendance to that concert.
Wow.
But to sprinkle in a little science with that, he had a survey that they administered as people registered. They had 300 and something people fill out the survey. And I'm just like, it would take years for a typical regular research study to achieve that level of engagement and completion and follow through, and to still have that many people show up to learn about dementia. But there's jazz. Like, it's wonderful.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yep.
Certainly. It's definitely, the way I see it, it's social media is, listen, if you use it to your benefit, you will benefit from it. And it's really shortened that time span of getting those results. I mean,
absolutely.
Just like that, put a poll up or whatever, and bam, just like that,
Just like that.
that is impressive. DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and Alzheimer's research. Kind of bridging those two things together. Because I was reading this in your biography when I was doing some research on you. What would you say is a cultural barrier, considering those two things, that still would need urgent attention when it comes to the Alzheimer's research and dementia and all that, but as well as having that research done and also bringing in that diversity aspect to it and having diverse researchers? Is there a cultural barrier you see in there that is kind of maybe stifled DE&I in Alzheimer's research?
One barrier that I feel like I've noticed is the word research. Sometimes it's a bit triggering. It's like that scary R word where people might not know what research really is or what they are getting themselves into. I did recently post a quick video on YouTube that I titled it The Power of Our Participation. And what it does is break down or just give some insight behind the scenes as to what research is, what participation even looks like. For instance, there are a lot of studies out there that are very low threshold. And by that, I mean it's just a quick interview, maybe 30, 45 minutes, where the researchers can learn from our experiences, hear about our challenges, understand our decision making, and find those gaps where they can create a decision aid, any type of flow chart, any type of artifact that will help us navigate the healthcare system or navigate a chronic disease that we're trying to manage or reverse. And when people understand that as participants, as the general public, we hold all the power. It's not the researchers, it's not the clinicians, it's not the people in the fancy white coats. We hold all the power. They need us. The study doesn't take place without us.
Right.
If it's human subjects research. And so when people understand there's an opportunity to help our community better understand the power that we hold. The way that we can show up and engage with researchers is through serving on an advisory board or an advisory council, because researchers need to hear from us. What would help us make a difference? What approaches should we take? What should this app look like? How should it perform? How do you all see yourselves using it or not using it? What color should the buttons be? Like, there's so many ways for the community to get involved and really have these future innovations reflect us and our needs. It's amazing. And so I think when someone like me can make a quick video and just break it down and show how easy it is to get involved, you get paid for your time. And the difference that it can make. There was another young lady I hosted back in February. She's working with Black women, I want to say younger Black women who might have breast cancer in their family. For instance, my mother is a breast cancer survivor. And so, I was reaching out to her out of the blue to participate in my panel back in February, and I signed up to participate in her study. So, I could get answers for myself. I'm like, I don't want to go down the same road that my mother did. There are ways to prevent it, or at least I need to be aware of all my options, what the process is even like, getting a mammogram. At what age am I supposed to get a mammogram? I'm in that fun stage of life where I don't have the chronic illnesses, but I know they've run in both sides of my family. I'm not as young as I used to be, so I'm sandwiched in between. Needing to know what the heck to do, what questions I should be asking, how to prepare myself, how to prevent going down the same trajectory as so many of my family members have gone down. So I want to make sure I'm answering your question. Understanding research, understanding the power that we hold, knowing that, okay, I met this young woman who's hosting or conducting a study for her PhD. I want to give back to the community in that way by participating and helping someone else earn their PhD. And so it was a 45-minute interview. I made sure to answer her questions in such a way that would set her up to keep innovating for the next 20 years. Because I've earned my PhD, and I know when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to, plan your work plan for the next 5, 10, 15 years. But once you're done and you can reflect and you see where you left off and where you can keep going and all the different opportunities that come from what you're working on, I knew how to answer her questions that would set her up for the next 20 years. And then when hosting her during my panel discussion, I was able to say to my audience, I participated in this study. I know exactly what's going on. I can really speak to it. I'm not just, I don't have someone here just randomly. I've done it. I've been through the process. This is how you give back. This is how we innovate for our community to reflect us.
Certainly.
So the barriers, I feel like one big barrier is just understanding what research is and what participation would look like and all the different options that are out there and how easy it is to do so. Sometimes I share about issues that I've come across on both sides, being the researcher and then being the participant. And so I hope to make it more relatable to show people I've been through discrimination. I've had racist remarks said to me. When I was in my postdoc, I was in hundreds of people's homes, recruiting and enrolling people into our clinical trials. But as soon as I knock on the door, ring the doorbell, they answer and they're surprised and shocked to see me. And so I'm just like, is it because I'm a woman? Or maybe you saw the flyer and you see that I'm the research manager. You didn't expect me to show up? I'm like, I'm not in the ivory tower. I'm boots on the ground. I'm in the community. I'm in people's homes. I'm asking the questions. I'm learning. I'm absorbing. And I'm innovating from that. And so, I think when folks realize how easy it is to get involved, how important it is to contribute, that will make all the difference. I think that's one big barrier to kind of overcoming our exclusion, overcoming the myths about research, and overcoming the fear that we obviously have every right to have when it comes to research, given our history with it. So I tell people the way we support Black-owned businesses, we should support Black researchers. Because it's future innovation is going to happen with or without us. And so I would rather we work with our own people,
Certainly.
our own Black experts, Black specialists, physicians, clinicians, scientists, everybody, to build innovation that will reflect us in our needs and just help to change our course of life when it comes to our health and reclaiming our health.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be so easy if we understand and if we know and if we're connected. So back to the ARC, just building that community of Black researchers, Black specialists, it can make all the difference when we have that safe space and we build those bridges. We understand what we're getting ourselves into. This could take off. Just that one initiative I've started can take off. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
I am too. I am too, Dr. Brown. And man, what you're doing is so important because we can be that generation that changes things.
Absolutely.
Because of the resources we now have, like our parents, our grandparents, and beyond, they've paved a path for us now to have gotten us to this point in history where I can do a podcast like this without fear of someone doing something, right? For the most part, at least. We have ability to have the education to pursue engineering. To a movie I've been meaning to watch is Hidden Figures. I don't know if you've seen it, but
I have.
I really want to watch that. And just seeing the history, I think, motivates you and compels you. And for you, Dr. Brown, I mean, being a woman of color, pursuing engineering all the way to a doctorate level, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced certain things that other people may not, that don't look like you. But here you are anyway.
Anyway, yep.
And you've excelled it, and now you're doing this. So it's inspiring to me too, honestly. So I really appreciate what you're doing. Well, we are coming to the end, Dr. Brown. But before we wrap it up with the ultimate advice question that everyone knows about, I wanna tackle a myth. I want to debunk a myth.
Okay.
So, what is one myth about career success? The word career success. You've been a very successful woman. With a doctorate, with 2 bachelors, with an app. You found success. What is one myth about career success that you can debunk right now that, let's say, people might be in college right now listening to this and they're like, what does career success look like for me? Oh, it might be X, Y, or Z. But you're like, it's actually not that. It's actually this. This might be more of the reality of what that looks like.
Ooh, that is a great question. And to some extent, I'm just like, there's so many myths. Which one do I choose?
State them all, Yeah.
What's really resonating in my mind right now is it's a phrase, it's a statement that we probably all read all the time. And it's that the trap of comparison, not comparing your journey, your success to other people's. I have obviously taken the road less traveled, and I have had to define what success means to me over and over and over again. I had one colleague where she asked me a great question. She was saying, when you start a business, for instance, how do you know when it started? How do you know when you really are a business owner? Because that looks different for different people. Mm-hmm. It could be when you've gotten your business license, or you've gone through and completed the LLC formation, or it could be the day you decide this is a gap I want to fill, this is a problem I want to solve, and this is how I'm going to do it because this is what's missing, this is what's needed. We need something different, we need something safe, we need something effective. And so success is defined in so many different ways, and you have to define it for yourself. Another myth I want to debunk might be I know I mentioned, embracing failure or repurposing failure. Failure is not the end. Mm-hmm. Failure, you may hit a roadblock. You might get rerouted. You might have to pivot what you thought you were going to do, or the way you thought you were going to do it might change. Embracing that journey, embracing the pivots, embracing the curveballs. That's what makes you grow. That's what, helps you evolve. That's what helps you get creative. A lot of stuff I've had to do and figure out how to do for free for a very long time, for instance. And I don't want, the future generations to get discouraged and give up. There's always another way. There's always another, when one door closes, another one opens. I know we hear that all the time, but it's true. It's very true. And it's usually the solution, the miracle will happen in a way that's unexpected. And you have to be ready and with open arms, keep an open mind to be ready to accept it and run with it. Another myth, so many. I'm trying to think about my own journey and just like, so another one. We are not as far along in healthcare and medicine as people might think. We see all these hospitals and all the money that's going into it, but a lot of places have been doing the same thing over and over again.
Really?
Just because that's how it's always been done.
Sure.
I know we hear that too, but literally you can come in and you start asking questions. You start asking why? Why are we still doing this? Why haven't we tried that? A lot of times people get stuck. Like, let's say you work in a hospital or any medical center. There's a certain way that they do things that's expected. If you work there, you kind of have to follow their agenda.
Sure.
Then you have somebody like me who, I'll pull up on any medical center, walk in, and I'm like, I'm here for the families and the caregivers. This is what I do. I've talked to doctors who work here. They have helped me identify. We've done a needs assessment. Mm-hmm. I call my workshop the Dominion over Dementia workshop, because I'm helping to debunk a lot of myths and common misconceptions. And so when you start asking the questions, you can be creative. You can come up with solutions. There was one professional society, long-standing, established, esteemed organization, where one of the leaders appointed me to their DEI advisory council. And they said, Dr. Brown, we need you to educate us, this organization, on what we should be doing for the Black community. And I'm like, you all have been around for 60 plus years. And I had noticed certain things when I navigate the website, or when I go to an event or a conference or a summit hosted by them. I've noticed all the, the opportunities, but for them to actually admit it, and it was don't get me wrong, it was an honor to be invited to serve in that capacity. But to know that in this, especially with dementia, to know that there's so many opportunities and so much missing, so many resources and solutions that we need that don't exist, or they're in their infancy, to be invited to come in and serve in that capacity was huge. But it shed a lot of light on the fact that despite having been around for so long, they still needed someone to come in and educate them on that type of opportunity. In fact, there are a lot of national calls to action for researchers to come in and create solutions and that really focus on marginalized populations. And for that to still be considered innovative, for that to be called innovation and, we're doing something new and improved. We're not as far along, as people might think. Yeah.
When you said that actually legit shocked me, because I was like, man, 2025, man, we have years and years of study. We must be crazy along the journey. Like we'll be curing cancer tomorrow or something. And we might be, solving diabetes or something. But wow, that's interesting. I'm kind of, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if disappointed is the right word, but I am kind of like, dang, like,
Yeah.
man, I wish we were though. But hey, well, I think we are the people that can start that, specifically you, Dr. Brown, that is going to start, actually trying new things and pushing that ball forward. Well, that's awesome. Well, we are at the deep end point of the podcast, and for anyone who's still listening, who's still watching us, you're about to get my favorite question that I like to ask my guests. The advice to the younger generation. So, Dr. Brown, you have so many intersectionalities, so many, things about your resume, as an engineer, as someone, who is a Black woman, as someone who has an app, as someone who's doing dementia research. I mean, there's so many, things about you that we've talked about in this podcast. For anyone who wants to pursue, let's say, engineering, there might be an engineering right now, or they might be wanting to come up with an app, or they want to do healthcare research, whatever field that they're doing. What advice would you give to that person today in 2025 to encourage them to keep going along that journey and pursue whatever it is that they want to do?
The advice I would give, probably like 3 different points of advice. One would be definitely step outside of your comfort zone, pursue different opportunities that might seem challenging, might seem difficult, but you'll learn so much, you will grow, you will build your network, build your community and your connections, build your support system. Definitely try to work with different disciplines as well. When I was at A&T, I was in the psychology department. I was in the computer engineering department. I was in so many different school of fill in the blank, whatever it was, I was there. For instance, A&T would have a lot of information sessions on campus. Go to the different departments, definitely the ones outside of your own field. Walk in there, ask questions. It doesn't matter which company it is, because there are so many different resources, so many different ways of supporting my department, our students, that came from me, breaking that mold, breaking barriers, building bridges across disciplines that never would have happened. I ended up hosting a women's empowerment conference at A&T.
Wow.
While being a full-time PhD student.
Yeah.
And I had Google there. And I met them by going to, I think it was Google Day, hosted by the computer science department. I'm not a computer scientist, but I was there. And one of their team members from Google said, youth who we've been looking for. They had a grant that was available for student chapters or student organizations. I was president of HFES, the Human Factors in Ergonomic Society.
Yeah.
It was defunct or debunked? No. Defaulted? What is the word I'm looking for? I basically had to resurrect our student chapter because it was out of compliance with the university, and I had to rebuild it from scratch. And so now I'm on Google's radar. I also hosted IBM. They were a sponsor. Lenovo, they were there with a drone and had us all on their Twitter account. This is like 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
All on their Twitter account. They brought cameras. They brought a whole production. We had Procter & Gamble. It was all Black folks who were there in North Carolina who came back or flew in from other states as well.
Yeah.
So many different businesses, companies, all because I took the time to just go and, reach out, branch out, step out, and just take up space in areas you didn't typically see us. The adult education department, I took classes there. I had a few electives I needed. And so I wanted to learn how adults learn so that when I start my company or, whatever areas that I needed, especially pursuing mobile app development, for instance, back to your question, you need to understand your target audience. And so go immerse yourself. I ended up going to a lot of adult day centers, memory cafes, different research centers that focus on dementia and all the different types of dementia. You have to immerse yourself. That's definitely another piece of advice, because you'll learn so much.
Yeah.
You'll get connected to families. You'll get connected to opportunities. I was somewhere, probably in LA, presenting my research. The director of a research center it was a poster. I wasn't even up at a podium. I was presenting my poster. She invited me to come to their research center as the human factor specialist to teach them how to create a mobile app for their caregivers. So many opportunities come just from being in the room, just from being at the table. If the table doesn't exist, build your own and invite whomever you want to sit at.
Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy. The difference between having the answers, having the solutions, having the support, having the resources is literally just putting yourself out there, asking questions, and demanding it. And I know this is another plug for A&T. Anything that the students wanted, all we had to do was ask. And if the resource didn't exist, I knew where to find it or who to talk to, or just I had built such a big network. I think I had written at least 100 or 200 proposals, just inviting different companies. So it's a lot of work, but when you have that passion and that curiosity, do it.
It's there for you.
It's there for you.
It's there for you. And Dr. Brown, you are a great example of someone who just kept saying yes to these opportunities, kept putting herself out there in opportunities, guys, and in rooms with Google, with Procter and Gamble, with Intel. These are big companies, So that's a crazy connection you have. Well, Dr. Brown, I appreciate your time. It is plug time now. So plug anything, any research you're doing, where people can connect with you, how people can support you. Any last words, anything that you want to throw out?
I have a few different initiatives I'm launching or have launched this year. One is having created the ARC Healing and Humor Ambassadors community. I want to work with comedians, storytellers, those who do spoken word, all the creatives out there, to incorporate comedy and humor with engaging the Black community with critical resources. Because I know a lot of folks don't want to sit and listen to 2 hours of science and 2 hours of facts and figures.
Yeah.
What I want to do is work with comedians to help us laugh. You all know the term to laugh to keep from crying. The storytelling in the Black community is unmatched.
That's very true.
I'm telling you, the care for 10 plus years that we have given to both of our grandmothers in my family, my mother and my aunt cut up. We are able to laugh about so much. To make incontinence funny, to be able to laugh about that now, it's so needed. And I think that's a really fun and creative way to then map all of the funny stories, all of our experiences to those critical resources. So yes, I'm a scientist at heart. I can't get away from the science of it all, but the therapy and the therapeutic advantages of laughing and being able to look back over what we've overcome, what we've been through, what we've learned, how we've grown as a community. I need you all. Comedians, caregivers, storytellers, humorists, spoken word artists. I need everybody. So that's definitely one plug. Another one is we have launched our Caregiver Therapy Connection initiative. We're working with Black therapists to take them through training on all things dementia, just to lay that foundation on dementia, so that they are able to work with Black dementia caregivers to offer that emotional, social support to help us, get those tools and strategies that we need to reduce stress, to promote self-care, because those are 2 risk factors for dementia as well.
100%.
Stress, poor quality of sleep. People don't realize it. And so when we can build those tools and strategies and solutions, it can make a world of difference in our everyday lives and our quality of life. The last plug I'll give is our Research with Roots series, connecting the Black community with Black researchers. Researchers out there, I need you. We tackle a different topic or a different chronic illness every month. So I need the specialists. I need those who, even students, of course, students, obviously students. I was a student, and that's probably when I had some of the best opportunities that I've come across.
Yeah.
So we host everybody. And I want to, build that platform, build that community so that we increase our participation and our awareness with all the research and innovation that's going on.
Wow.
Certainly follow us on Instagram. It's the _dementia on Instagram, and certainly on LinkedIn. You can find me in a lot of different places. So I just look forward to meeting new people, especially having heard this podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dr. Brown. Thank you. And speaking of mental health, by the way, real quick, I'm going to have to connect you with someone who I actually had on this podcast. Delisha, she does mental health through art therapy.
I love that. I need an art therapist for my upcoming workshop. So
so she might be the perfect one, but I appreciate your time, Dr. Brown.
Thank you.
And I hope you all enjoyed this awesome episode, took away. There's so many different nuggets, y'all. There's so many things we can take away from this episode. So go out there, support Dr. Brown, support what she's doing, and love one another. We need more love in this world in 2025. Support one another. Enjoy the sun. It's spring season now, too. And thank you for your continued support of me on this podcast journey. Till next time, y'all. Peace. What is up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to that episode. Make sure to click the subscribe, follow button, as well as the bell to get notified on all my new content that is coming out every Wednesday and every other day. And make sure to click that link in the description down below to get access to all my socials and any other platforms that I have my podcast on. And until next time, y'all, peace.